Greeting everyone, I hope you are all in a good shape. Well, basically, when we start initiating our lesson format, we have to take into consideration the most important part in the lesson format, which is the learning or the overall objective. The objective is the most important thing that contains what? Several elements or one particular element. Why we need to set an overall objective? This is knowledgeable by most of you. So when we need to set an objective, we have to consider the learner's profile. We need to consider what you will get by introducing or by presenting that lesson. We can know about the acquisition or level of acquisition by learners throughout providing activities. So these activities are the, let's say, a test, right? Or let's say evidence of your learning acquisition. So the success is based on providing what? Providing tasks or activities. Concerning that, today I'm going to get a grip with a particular approach. And this approach is based entirely on providing, or let's say, introducing several activities. It is called activity-based learning approach. So as I said, it deals with activity-based approach. Right. When we provide such an approach, we have to consider the several elements, or let's say we have to take into consideration what we need to set or present in order to make it successful or efficient. Right. Before you introduce this one, you have to consider the learner's profile, the learner's style, and the learner's expectations. When we talk about learner's expectation, here we are dealing with the environment, we are dealing with specific, or let's say particular context. So when we introduce this one, we have to be or play a part of authority. When we talk about authority, it means to be an authoritarian person, authoritarian participant. So here we are dealing with authority. Right? Authority means to not to take charge with the learner's behavior. No, it has to deal with providing instructional expressions or making learners aware of what they're supposed to do in the next activity. Right? So for example, when you provide instructions, here you will help learners to understand what is the thing or what is the skills they have to acquire or implement while performing that task or that activity, right? So here we are dealing with authority. It has to deal with what? With instructional expressions. Simply, when you provide a task, you have to inform your learners about the things that they need to focus on while performing the activity. This is the meaning of instructions, to help them understand what their duty or what their job is, right? So this is an instructional expressions, right? It has to deal or linked with authority. So we will act, as I said, as an authoritarian participant within the classroom context. Right. When we become an authority, you have to consider the second element, which is the environment. So here we are dealing with environmental, or let's say environmental relevancy. Environment relevancy. Right? So environmental relevancy means simply you have to accommodate, or let's say apply and use the kind of activities that suit their own environments. Why we need that? Because when we establish an environmental or environment relevancy, here we are going to create a fun learning. Fun learning means enjoyment, simply. Enjoyment. When we enjoy, learners will enjoy throughout the activity. Why? Because the context is relevant to their own environment. They will encourage, they will strive, they will try to understand and try to perform correctly and do an extra effort, because it's based on their interest, based on their, let's say, intrinsic motivations, right? So enjoyment. So they prefer to have an enjoyment part while learning. This is called fun learning, right? When we make them enjoy, they will what? They will perform efficiently. Okay. How you are going to accomplish that? We know that when we set a lesson or set an activity, we are going to use a technique or strategy, or let's say method, particular method. In this particular method, it should be not determined as an experiment, because you are not a scientific, or let's say setting up an experimental design or experimental research, right? When you have a tentative, or let's say an assumptions, and you want to test whether your, let's say, your method can apply or suit their own mindset or not. No, this is a teaching, so you have to consider priorly about the learner's profile, as I said at the beginning of this video, right? So you need to consider whether your learners can cope with the presented method and presented technique or strategy or whatever, and then you could present it to them, right? You need to consider the levels, how they think, and you need to think, let's say, generally and specifically, right? This is your duty, this is your responsibility, right? So when we perform efficiently, we need to have a particular method, or let's say suitable method, technique, etc. Right? So we needed to consider whether my method is suitable to the learners or not. Clear? When we consider these, we are going at the end. We are going to what? To have an overall achievement. Overall achievements. Achievement leads to successful learning. Therefore, it could prove that your lesson is being understood by your learners. So here, the learning objective is fulfilled. This is it. So we need to consider all these elements that are parts, okay, in parts of activity-based learning approach. That was all. Thank you very much.